The board member looked at her like she'd told a joke. Actually laughed. Margaret Walsh stood in the doorway of the executive conference room. Gray hair pulled back, cardigan sweater, sensible shoes. The woman who made breakfast for David Chen's daughters every morning, who picked them up from school, who read them bedtime stories. "I'm sorry," the board member said. "Did the nanny just suggest she knows how to fix our security crisis?" David looked uncomfortable. Caught between worlds, his children's caregiver, his company's collapse, $2 billion evaporating, 5,000 jobs at risk, and Maggie standing there, calm, certain, like she knew something they didn't. "I've heard the engineers' presentations," Maggie said. "They're trying to patch the vulnerability. That won't work. The problem isn't technical, it's operational. You need to redesign the entire deployment pipeline. Isolate the compromised modules. Implement a rolling failover system. I can show you how." The CTO, Dr. Michael Park, actually smiled, condescending, dismissive. "Ma'am, with all due respect, these are highly complex engineering problems. We have PhDs from MIT, Stanford. We've been working on this for 6 weeks. I'm not suggesting. I'm telling you, you're approaching this wrong. And if you don't change course in the next 48 hours, your clients will finish migrating to competitors. Your company will be worthless, and David will lose everything." Silence. The board members exchanged glances. David stared at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in 3 years. "Maggie," he said quietly, "how do you know this?" "Because 20 years ago, I was the VP of operations at Cortec. I built their deployment infrastructure from scratch, scaled them from 50 million to 3 billion in revenue. I've solved this exact problem before. Different company, same crisis. I know what I'm doing." The room went silent. Nobody laughed now. What they didn't know yet was that in the next 72 hours, the nanny who made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs would save a $2 billion company. And David Chen would learn that the most valuable person in his life had been invisible all along. 8 years earlier, Margaret Walsh walked out of Cortec headquarters for the last time, 23 years in corporate America. 12-hour days, weekend calls, constant travel, 3 failed marriages, 2 heart attacks, 1 burnout so severe she'd spent a week in the hospital unable to move. She was 54 years old, VP of operations, making $800,000 a year, stock options worth millions, respected, feared, successful, and absolutely miserable. Her therapist had been direct. "Margaret, you're going to die. Not someday. Soon. Your body is shutting down. Your stress levels are catastrophic. You need to stop." "I can't just stop. This is who I am." "No, this is what you do. Who you are is separate, but you've forgotten that." Margaret thought about it, about what she loved, what made her happy. When was the last time she'd felt joy? Not achievement, not success, but actual joy. She remembered her nieces, visiting her sister, playing with the kids, reading them stories, making them laugh, simple, pure, no pressure, no stakes, just connection. She made a decision, quit Cortec, sold her stock, put the money in index funds, enough to live on forever, and became a nanny. Her family thought she'd lost her mind. "You're giving up everything. For what? To wipe noses and change diapers? For peace, for simplicity, for a life that doesn't kill me. You'll be bored in a month. Maybe, but I'll be alive." She wasn't bored. She loved it, loved the routine, the simplicity, the lack of pressure. Nobody's career depended on her. No million-dollar decisions, no crises, just kids, breakfast, school, homework, bedtime, simple. She worked for 3 families over 8 years. Never told them about her past, never mentioned Cortec or Stanford, or the fact that she'd built operational systems used by half the tech industry. She was just Maggie, the nanny, invisible, exactly how she wanted it. 3 years ago, David Chen hired her. His twins were 3, His wife, Rebecca, was a partner at a law firm, traveled constantly. David was building Nextech, cloud infrastructure, ambitious, growing fast. They needed help. Someone reliable. Someone the girls would love. Maggie interviewed, showed references from previous families. David asked about her background. I worked in corporate for a while. Got tired of it. Prefer working with kids now. What kind of corporate work? Operations. Nothing exciting. How are the girls with routines? He didn't push, didn't care. Just needed someone who could handle bedtime and emergency room visits and school pickups. Maggie was perfect. The girls loved her immediately, called her Maggie, drew her pictures, told her secrets. She made them breakfast, drove them to school, helped with homework, read them stories, tucked them in. Simple, beautiful, exactly what she wanted. David barely saw her. He'd leave for work before the girls woke up, come home after they were asleep. Weekend, he was on his laptop, conference calls, crisis management, building his empire. Maggie watched him, saw the stress, the exhaustion, the same path she'd been on. But it wasn't her problem. She'd left that world behind. She was just the nanny. The crisis started 6 months ago. Security breach. Hackers found a 0-day vulnerability in Nextech's core product, exploited it, compromised client data, not a lot, but enough. Enough that clients got scared, started asking questions, started looking at competitors. David brought in experts, security consultants, engineers from everywhere. They identified the vulnerability, understood how it worked, but couldn't fix it. Every patch they tried broke something else. The system was complex, interconnected. Change one thing and 3 other things failed. It was a nightmare. Clients started leaving. First a few, then more, then major accounts. The board panicked, brought in crisis management, investor relations, tried to contain the damage, but the truth leaked. Media coverage. A Nextech security breach worse than reported. Stock price tanked. Valuation dropped from $4 billion to $2 billion. Investors demanded answers, demanded solutions, demanded David's head if he couldn't fix this. Maggie saw it happening, watched David deteriorate. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating. Aged 10 years and 6 months. The girls noticed. Why is Daddy so sad? He's working on something hard. He'll be okay. Can you help him? That's not my job, sweetie. My job is taking care of you. But she wanted to help. Heard the phone calls, the conference calls he took from home, the engineers explaining why nothing worked, the consultants suggesting impossible solutions, and she knew exactly what the problem was, knew exactly how to fix it, but she said nothing. It wasn't her world anymore. She'd walked away. She wasn't going back. Then the emergency board meeting happened. David was in his study, door closed, on a call. Maggie was making dinner. The girls were doing homework. She heard him, heard the stress, the desperation. We've tried everything. The engineers can't fix it without breaking the system. We're out of options. We're out of time. A voice on speaker. David, the board is meeting Thursday. They're going to vote. Either you present a solution or they're replacing you as CEO. You have 72 hours. I understand. Do you have a solution? Silence. Long silence. I'm working on it. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. The call ended. Maggie heard something she'd never heard before. David crying. Quiet, alone, trying to hold it together. She stood in the kitchen, thought about walking away. Not her problem, not her world. But then Sophie came in. Maggie, is Daddy okay? He will be. He's sad all the time. I miss happy Daddy. Maggie looked at this little girl. This kid she'd spent 3 years raising. Who trusted her, who needed her dad to be okay. She made a decision. Walked to the study, knocked. David, can I talk to you? He wiped his face, tried to compose himself. Not now, Maggie. I'm dealing with something. I know. I heard. And I think I can help. Maggie, I appreciate it. But this is a technical problem. Very complex. I don't think... I know it's complex. I've solved it before. Different company, same crisis. I can help, if you'll let me. He looked at her. Really looked. What are you talking about? I used to work at CoreTech, VP of Operations. I built their deployment infrastructure, scaled their entire platform. I've seen this exact problem. The engineers are trying to patch the vulnerability. That won't work. You need to redesign the deployment pipeline, isolate the compromised modules, implement a rolling failover. I can show you how. David stared. You're saying you were a VP at CoreTech? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because I left that world. I chose this instead. But David, your company is dying. Your family needs you. The girls need you. I can help. If you'll trust me. I don't understand. You're a nanny. I'm a person who made a choice, but I still know how to do this. Will you let me help? David didn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about Maggie, about what she'd said, about whether it was possible. The next morning, he called his CTO, Dr. Michael Park, brilliant engineer, Stanford PhD, built half of Nextech's core systems. Michael, I want to try something different. A different approach to the security problem. We've tried everything, David. I know, but there's someone who has experience with this. Similar crisis, different company. She thinks she can help. She? Yes, Margaret Walsh. She used to be VP of Operations at CoreTech. She's currently working for me, different capacity. But she has relevant experience. CoreTech Margaret Walsh. Michael's voice changed. The Margaret Walsh who built their deployment infrastructure, who scaled them to $3 billion. Yes, she's alive. Nobody's heard from her in years. There are legends about her in the industry. She disappeared. She's been my nanny for 3 years. Silence, then laughter. Your nanny? The woman who watches your kids is Margaret Walsh, the Margaret Walsh. Yes. David, if that's true, if she's really who you say she is, we need her. Now, today, that woman is a genius. Operational engineering at a level most people can't comprehend. Will the team listen to her? If she's really Margaret Walsh, they'll worship her. But David, are you sure? How do you know she's not lying? I'm about to find out. The meeting was set for that afternoon. Nextech headquarters, conference room, Michael Park, 3 senior engineers, the security consultant, and Maggie. She walked in wearing the same cardigan, same sensible shoes, carrying a laptop that was 10 years old. The engineers stared, whispered. Michael stood. Everyone, this is Margaret Walsh. For those who don't know, she was VP of Operations at CoreTech. She built some of the most sophisticated deployment systems in the industry. She's here to help. One of the engineers, a young guy named Jason, actually laughed. The nanny is Margaret Walsh. Come on. Michael's face went hard. Show some respect. This woman has forgotten more about operations than you'll ever learn. If she's so smart, why is she a nanny? Maggie spoke, calm, direct. Because I chose to be. Because I'd rather spend my days with children than with arrogant engineers who think they know everything. Now, are we going to solve this problem, or are we going to waste time questioning my credentials? Silence. She opened her laptop, connected to the projector, pulled up a diagram. Your problem. 0-day vulnerability in the authentication module. You've tried patching it. Every patch breaks something else, correct? Yes. That's because your deployment architecture is monolithic. Everything's connected. Change one thing, 3 things break. You can't isolate the vulnerability without breaking the system. We know that. That's the problem. No, that's the symptom. The problem is your architecture. You need to redesign it. Microservices, containerization, isolate each module, deploy independently. Then you can patch the vulnerability without breaking anything else. Jason spoke up. That would take months. We don't have months. It'll take 72 hours if you do it right. I've done it before. I'll show you how. She spent the next 4 hours walking them through the solution, step by step, how to isolate the modules, how to implement the rolling failover, how to migrate clients without downtime, how to test each component independently. The engineers started taking notes, asking questions. Smart questions. Maggie answered all of them, patiently, clearly, like a teacher who'd done this 1,000 times. By the end, Jason was silent, respectful, maybe even awed. Michael looked at David. She's the real deal. This could work. Will it work in 72 hours? If we start now, if everyone commits, if we follow her plan exactly, yes, it could work. David looked at Maggie. Are you sure about this? I'm sure. But David, you need to understand something. This is going to be brutal. 72 hours non-stop. Your team is going to have to trust me completely. Follow my instructions exactly. No ego, no shortcuts. Can they do that? Michael answered. For Margaret Walsh, yes, we can do that. The next 72 hours were chaos, controlled chaos. Maggie set up in a conference room, became command center. The engineers worked in shifts. She directed them like a conductor, precise, demanding, patient when they needed help, harsh when they made careless mistakes. No, that's wrong. You're deploying to production before testing staging. That's how systems fail. Do it again, correctly. The client migration. You're doing it in alphabetical order. That's inefficient. Do it by usage patterns. Migrate the low-traffic clients first. Build confidence, then the big ones. I sent you the priority list. Follow it. The containerization. Check your dependency mappings. You missed the authentication module linkage. If you deploy this, everything breaks. Fix it. She barely slept. Survived on coffee and determination. David watched her, saw a different person. Not the gentle nanny who made pancakes, but the VP who'd built empires. She was terrifying and magnificent. The board meeting was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. They had until then, Wednesday night. They did the final deployment, migrated the last major client, implemented the patch, tested everything, waited. The vulnerability was gone. The system was stable. Clients were secure. It worked. Maggie sat back, closed her laptop. We're done. Michael looked at her. You just saved this company. We saved this company. I just showed you how. Why? Why help us? You walked away from this world. You could have stayed quiet. Let it fail. Why come back? Maggie thought about Sophie, about Emma, about David crying in his study, about family. Because some things matter more than peace. Some things you can't walk away from, even when you want to. Thursday, 2 p.m., board meeting. The conference room was full, 12 board members, 4 major investors, David at the head of the table, tense, exhausted. The lead investor, Richard Palmer, started, David, we're here because your company is failing. Security breach, client exodus, stock price collapse. 2 months ago, you were worth $4 billion. Today, $2 billion. Tomorrow, maybe nothing. We gave you 72 hours to present a solution. Do you have one? I do. Present it. David stood. Before I do, I need to introduce someone. Someone who made this solution possible. Margaret Walsh. Maggie walked in. Same cardigan, same sensible shoes. The board members looked confused. Palmer frowned. Who is this? Margaret Walsh, former VP of Operations at Cortec. The person who saved my company. Palmer laughed. David, we don't have time for jokes. Who is this, really? Michael Park stood. She's exactly who he says. Margaret Walsh. The Margaret Walsh. She's been working as David's nanny for 3 years. And in the last 72 hours, she solved a problem our entire engineering team couldn't solve. She redesigned our deployment architecture. isolated the vulnerability, implemented a rolling failover system, migrated all our clients, patched the security breach without a single minute of downtime. The problem is solved. The clients are secure. The company is stable. Silence. Palmer stared at Maggie. You're telling me the nanny saved a $2 billion company? Maggie spoke. I'm telling you that underestimating people based on their current job is a mistake. I chose to be a nanny. That doesn't make me incompetent. It makes me someone who values different things. But when something matters, when people I care about need help, I still know how to do what I do best. I built operational systems for 20 years. I'm very good at it. And yes, I saved this company. You're welcome. One of the board members, a woman named Jennifer Cho, smiled. Margaret Walsh. I've heard stories about you, legends. You disappeared 8 years ago. Everyone wondered what happened. I chose a different life, a simpler life, a better life. And you came back for this. I came back for David, for his family, for the people who depend on this company, not for the money, not for the recognition, because it was the right thing to do. Palmer looked at David. Is the problem really solved? Yes, completely. We've tested everything. Clients are secure. System is stable. We're already getting calls from the clients who left. They want to come back. We're going to be fine. And her, the nanny who's apparently a genius. What's her role now? David looked at Maggie. That's up to her. Maggie smiled. I'm going back to being a nanny. I like making breakfast, reading bedtime stories, living a simple life. I helped because I could, because it mattered. But this isn't my world anymore. I don't want it to be. Palmer shook his head. You solved a $2 billion crisis and you're going back to making pancakes. Yes, because pancakes make the girls happy, and making them happy makes me happy. That's worth more than any job title. You're insane. No, I'm free. After the meeting, David found Maggie in the hallway. Maggie, wait. We need to talk. About what? About paying you, compensating you. You saved the company. That's worth millions. I need to give you something. You pay me to watch your daughters. That's the job. I did this because your daughters need their father, not because I wanted money. But, David, listen to me. I have enough money. I made smart choices, invested well. I don't need more. What I need is a life that doesn't kill me. A life that makes me happy. Being your nanny makes me happy. Let me keep doing that. You could do anything. Run operations for any company. They'd pay you anything you wanted. I know. That's why I left. Because I realized money doesn't buy peace. Success doesn't buy joy. I spent 20 years chasing achievement, and I was miserable. Now I spend my days with your daughters, teaching them, playing with them, watching them grow. And I'm happy. Actually happy. Don't take that from me. David was quiet. Then, the girls, they know what you did. No. And I don't want them to. I want them to know me as Maggie, the person who makes them breakfast, who reads them stories, who loves them. Not as some corporate legend, just as Maggie. They're lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them. They saved me. More than I saved your company. How? They reminded me what matters. Connection, love, simple moments. They gave me a reason to choose peace over power. I'll never be able to thank them enough for that. That night, Maggie made dinner. Pasta. The girls' favorite. David came home early. Actually early. First time in months. Daddy! The girls ran to him, hugged him. He picked them up, held them. I missed you guys. You're home. I am. And I'm going to be home more. I promise. Rebecca was there too. Had flown back. Maggie, can you join us for dinner, please? I usually eat in the kitchen. Not tonight. Tonight, your family, please. They sat together, the 5 of them, ate pasta, talked, laughed. Emma told Maggie about school. Sophie showed her a drawing. David watched, saw his family, really saw them, saw Maggie, not as the help, but as the person who held everything together, who saved his company, who saved his family. "Maggie," he said, "I want to say something, in front of everyone. You saved my company, you saved my career. But more than that, you've saved my family. You've taken care of my daughters when I was too busy. You've given them love and attention when I was distracted. You've been here when I wasn't. I can't ever repay that. But I want you to know, you're not just the nanny, you're family. And I'm grateful. For everything." Maggie's eyes filled. "Thank you. That means more than you know. Can I ask you one thing?" "What? Why did you really leave corporate? What made you walk away when you were at the top?" Maggie looked at the girls, at Emma and Sophie, at their innocent faces, their joy, because I realized I'd spent 20 years building things. Companies, systems, revenue, all of it impressive, all of it empty. I had success but no happiness, achievement but no peace. And one day I asked myself what I wanted my life to mean, what I wanted to matter. And I realized it wasn't the things I built. It was the people I loved, the connections I made, the moments I lived. So I walked away, found a life that let me have those things, found you, found the girls, found peace. Do you regret it, coming back, helping with the crisis? No, because it reminded me why I left, the pressure, the stress, the stakes. I don't miss that world, but I'm glad I could help. Glad I could use what I know for something good, for people I care about. That's enough. The board wanted to offer you a position, Chief Operations Officer, whatever title you wanted, whatever salary. I know, I said no. Why? Because I'd rather read bedtime stories than run board meetings. I'd rather make pancakes than manage crises. I'd rather be here with your daughters, living a simple life. That's not settling, that's choosing what matters. David nodded. Understood. Maybe for the first time. Rebecca reached over, squeezed Maggie's hand. We're lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one. 6 months later, Nextech had recovered completely. Stock price back up. Clients returning. New contracts signed. David's job was secure. The board was happy, but more importantly, David was different. Came home earlier, spent weekends with the girls. Put the laptop away, chose family over empire. Maggie watched it happen, saw him become the father his daughters needed, the husband Rebecca deserved. It was better than any corporate victory. One afternoon, a woman came to the house, interview for a nanny position, different family, friend of Rebecca's. Maggie sat with her, answered questions. Can I ask you something personal? The woman said. Sure. I heard a rumor. Someone said you used to be a big deal. Corporate VP, is that true? Yes. And you gave it up to be a nanny? I didn't give it up. I traded it for something better? Better. You were making hundreds of thousands. Now you make what? 50,000? Money isn't everything. I spent 20 years proving that. Now I spend my days with children, teaching them, loving them, living a life that doesn't kill me. That's worth more than any salary. Don't you miss it? The power? The prestige? Sometimes, for about 5 minutes. Then I remember what it cost. The health, the relationships, the joy. I don't miss it enough to go back. But you could do anything. You're obviously brilliant. Why waste it on this? Maggie looked at her. It's not waste. It's choice. I choose to use my skills differently now. I choose to invest in people instead of companies. I choose peace over power. That's not waste. That's wisdom. The woman left. Probably thinking Maggie was crazy. Probably couldn't understand. That was okay. Maggie didn't need her to understand. She understood. That was enough. A year after the crisis, Maggie got a call. Unknown number. She answered. Margaret Walsh? Yes. This is Richard Palmer, from Nextech's board. We met last year. I remember. I'm calling because I have a situation. My company. We're facing a crisis, similar to what Nextech went through. Operational. Complex. I remembered what you did, how you solved it. I'm willing to pay anything, 7 figures, whatever you want. Please, we need you. Maggie was quiet, thought about the money, about the challenge, about going back. Mr. Palmer, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not interested. You haven't heard the number? I don't need to. I'm not doing this for money. I have a job. I have a life. I'm happy. You're choosing to be a nanny over being a consultant making millions? Yes. That's insane. That's choice. Mr. Palmer, I know you don't understand. Most people don't. But I learned something. Success isn't about how much you make or how high you climb. It's about whether you're happy, whether you're at peace, whether your life means something to you. I'm happy. I'm at peace. My life means something. I'm not trading that for anything. I hope you find someone to help, but it won't be me. She hung up, felt good about it, felt free. That evening, she made dinner. The girls helped, stirring, tasting, laughing. David came home, hugged them all. How was everyone's day? Perfect, Emma said. Sophie agreed. Maggie smiled. Perfect. That was exactly right. She'd spent 20 years chasing perfect in boardrooms and spreadsheets. Never found it here, in a kitchen, with children. With simple moments. With peace. That was worth more than anything. Sometimes the most successful people are the ones who walk away from success, who choose simplicity over complexity, peace over power, joy over achievement. They're not failures. They're not quitters. They're people who figured out what matters and had the courage to choose it. Maggie Walsh built empires, saved companies, made millions. Then she walked away, became a nanny, made pancakes, read bedtime stories, lived a life that didn't kill her. And when crisis came, when people she loved needed her, she used her gifts to help, not for money, not for recognition, but because it was right. Then she went back to making pancakes, because that's what she chose. That's what made her happy. Don't judge people by their job titles, by their salaries, by what they do for work. Judge them by whether they're happy, whether they're at peace, whether they've figured out what matters. Those are the people who've truly succeeded. If this resonated, leave a comment. Subscribe if you believe in choosing what matters. In people who walk away from power to find peace. In nannies who save companies and go back to making breakfast. Those are the people who understand life. Those are the people who win.